Hi, my name is Keri Barnum, and I am here with New Shelves Books for Free Advice Fridays, the hour every Friday where we get together, we answer your questions live about book marketing, publishing, pretty much anything having to do with the writing process and publishing process, on to marketing your book. And so we take questions live. We also take them via email if you can't make it live at 10 a.m. Eastern every Friday. And that email is just questions with an S at freeadvicefridays.com. And we answer those as well as we can over the course of the hour. So let's get started with our live questions. We'll pull in some email questions, and if anyone who's watching live has questions throughout the time, just drop them in the Q&A and we will get those answered for you. So the first question we have is a talk about cover design. What wording and punctuation do we have to use? Are there any rules that we need to follow? Here's the thing with cover design that writers love to hate. When you are doing cover design, it's very important that we remember that this is, while there are some standards and things that need to be there, yes, we want things to be spelled correctly and that kind of thing. It's really important to realize that your cover design is essentially a piece of art. It's functional art, it's something that has a purpose, but it is art. Therefore, if your title does not have perfect punctuation, that kind of thing, that's okay, because it is, again, it is art. So we have a little bit of leeway, a little bit of freedom if having, if your title not having proper capitalization, maybe you want your title all in lowercase. If that is what's going in the market, if that is the design, then that is okay. Same thing with punctuation. Just because maybe your subtitle is a question, you don't have to end it with a question mark. It's art. So as far as the front cover and your title go, that's really important to remember. I will also say that cover designers are one of those things that I highly recommend. If you are not a cover designer, it usually shows when you're trying to make your own. So just keep that in mind. Also, just because someone is an artist or does photography or something like that does not mean that they know what they're doing cover design. We often see people say, well, my granddaughter is going to art school, and so I asked her to draw something and make my book cover. Fantastic, great. Some of the problems there is that when an artist is creating a piece of work for the cover art, they get attached to it. They don't necessarily want to cover up their art with your title. And so there's a little bit of a war between knowing what the title needs to do for a book cover and a piece of art. So having your actual artist, if you're having original art made for your cover, also being the person who does all of your text on the cover, doesn't always work out well. So that's just some things to consider when you're looking at book cover design. Also, go out into the market, see what's selling now. I don't care what sold 10 years ago, go see what's selling now. I mean, last year we saw a lot of covers that were kind of, I don't want to say weird, that's not the right word. They were very artistic. There was like very big, like pieces of art slash upon it. There's a lot of texture kind of stuff going on. And now we're seeing it kind of trend a little bit more towards realistic art, like rather than just a big image, we're seeing things trend a little bit more towards showing the story in there. So see what's selling now and let that lead you. Go check out your genre, check out the bestsellers in your genre today, and then go see what's selling. As far as your back cover, that's completely different. Your back cover, yes, you need punctuation. You need to have everything edited and checked. So your back cover description is where you're telling the reader what the book's all about. You're giving them a synopsis. Keep in mind that your back cover copy should be a little bit different than your marketing copy. Your marketing copy is a personal plea, if you will, a personal outreach to your reader about the book and inviting them to join you on the journey to read the book. typically when you are doing the back cover copy, it's not as personal. It's kind of more of just a synopsis. Now, yes, it still needs to be exciting. It needs to be draw people in, but it is a little bit different. You don't typically end on your back cover saying, go click above and order your copy today, because that would be weird, right? So keep that in mind. Also, when you're looking at the back cover, it's very common to have a headline at the back that many times will not have proper punctuation. It will be like all in caps or in a call out, and that's okay. So it's a very fine line of art and it's a very fine line between art and functionalism, and it's meeting in the middle. And as Bob's saying over here, customized typography is very popular, and that's absolutely true. Buying fonts, customized fonts is very big right now. Having something straight from the computer, at least for your title and for some of your call outs, it's just very popular to have something that is uniquely inspired by your book. I'm working with an author right now who has a mystery, it's the first book in a mystery series, and it's all very beach themed. And so when we were looking at the cover of his book, we went out and found a font that is very beachy, that it just feels like that. And so keep that in mind, that it can be inspired. And again, that's kind of the artistic bit that gets to pop out and play, which is a lot of fun. Also, absolutely, you should have your cover on your spine, or your cover on your spine. Yeah, you should have your title on the spine, because when this book goes out to bookstores and libraries and it's on a shelf, that's what we're going to see. We're going to see the spine. So it's really important that we get the title on the spine, that it is as big as we can possibly make it without going over. It's very common also, if you are self-publishing, to either have a logo made for your press or to have your name on there, something like that. But absolutely do not miss the opportunity of getting your title on the spine. That's a shame when that happens, for sure. And also know that your art can, if you have art, it can wrap around your book. It doesn't have to be a piece of art on the front and then you've got a blank spine and a blank back. Your art can wrap around and really make it feel cohesive all together. And again, these are all things that artists and cover designers, they think about, because they do this. They're looking at books all the time. They're seeing what's trending. And that is why I love working with our cover designers that we work with here at New Shelves, because it's like I've got like this much creativity and I'm like, this is what I want. And they're like, no, you want all of these things. And I'm like, yeah, I do. You're right. I do want all those things, but I don't know how. And so they go make it happen. And that is the beauty of working with people who know more about things than we do. All right, so I hope that, I mean, that was kind of a broad topic, Carolyn, but if you have more questions about cover design or what should or shouldn't be on there, feel free to ask. I would say that unless your book is really very edgy, I would try to keep cursing and curse words off of your book cover that can keep them from being displayed. Now, that's not to say that there aren't books that sell very, very well with that kind of stuff on them, but typically the typical author who's not already well known or doesn't have a huge platform, that can be very difficult, and it can also keep your book from being advertised. Speaking of, it is becoming more and more of an issue advertising a book that the cover art didn't have advertising in mind. So for example, I have a client who has Civil War series. You've probably seen the books recently. And on one of his covers, there is a guy smoking a cigar. Nope, guess what? You cannot advertise on Amazon. You cannot advertise something with smoking on it. There is another cover. I mean, it's the Civil War. So there's another cover with, you know, guys with guns because, hey, it's a war. No, you cannot advertise a cover with guns on it. So also keep that in mind with your design, is that there are certain triggers that will keep your book from being advertised on Facebook, on Amazon, like any type of smoking being depicted. Guns can keep it from being done. Curse words or the allusion to curse words, even if you see the F with the asterisk CK, that will get you, not accepted. I've seen the SH exclamation point T, that can keep you from being able to run any type of ads. So again, make sure that you're thinking strategically. If you really have a reason for this and you can stand behind it, great. Just know that it may affect your advertising ability. You can get around that on Facebook by using a stock image instead of your book cover. Yeah. Randy's assuring us that booze is perfectly okay for now anyway, since we've got his poetry book with booze all over it. And that may be a selling point for some. It's 2021. So just keep all those things in mind. Puppies, again, puppies are always winners, but Griff is sleeping, so I can't bring him on quite yet. This is how I keep you till the end. I'm like, I'll get Griff at the end, guys. All right, let's see. Oh, great, Jane. Jane's book as audiobook is ranking really well on Amazon since that was just released, which is great. I love that. I love when, we talk to you guys and we work with you guys and we build this community and then we hear of your wins and the things that are going really well. I love that because community is this thing that we build, and certainly we want to share knowledge, and we want to answer questions, but we also want to celebrate with you because I think that's awesome, especially when we can see. I follow a lot of you online, and New Shelves follows you, and we try to support you where we can. So we love to watch and see your wins and see the things that we talk about that you then go implement. So it's awesome. Oh, that's only pre-order. So that's really awesome for pre-order. That's great. I'm not surprised because the Welsh accent. Who doesn't want to listen to a beautiful voice and accent on audiobook? I could hate the book and be like, but it's just so soothing. But Jane's book is good, so you'll like that one. Let me see. It does have the narrator for, and actually let's talk about this because the narrator for an audiobook is so important because think about it. Some of these books are long. I have listened to audiobooks that were 30 hours long. The average audiobook I'd say is closer to 7 and 10 hours is pretty common. And if you're going to listen to that for a long time, narrator can make or break it. If you have an awful narrator that's just screeching, no thank you. The book is not worth it to me. And a lot of people feel that way. And that is why there's audiobook samples and things like that, because you're going to be listening to it. Speed control, that's right. So you can kind of speed things up. So it is absolutely important that the narrator is something people want to listen to. And this is why I've had questions recently about why we can't merge our reviews from our ebook and our paperback to our audio. And the reason why is because the paperback, the hardcover, the ebook, they are all the same content. And that's why you can merge your reviews, let's say on Barnes & Noble or on Amazon. You can merge those reviews and they count for all of it. If you have 300 reviews, it'll show on all of those formats. Your audiobook actually shows up separately with separate reviews. And the reason why is because when someone's reviewing your audiobook, they are not only reviewing the content of the book, they are reviewing the narration. And that is why things do not transfer over. That's why Audible, you have to actually have bought and listened to the book on Audible to leave an Audible review. So, keep that in mind, is that narration matters, and that is why the reviews don't mesh. I've been asked that several times just in the last week or two. So that's why, because when someone's leaving a review for your audiobook, they have to review the story and the narrator. It's like upping the game a little bit. And yeah, as far as reading your own book for a narration, that's very, very popular with nonfiction books for self-help. Let's say if you've got a book that's all about fitness. If If you've got a book that's all about fitness and it's your personal advice, hearing it in your voice is probably what people want. As you build your brand, as you sell your book, it's very much your voice. So as long as you can speak well and clearly and you're okay reading and you practice, many times self-help and nonfiction does really well when the author is also the narrator. With fiction, that doesn't necessarily play out. Keep in mind that fiction has a little bit more acting in it. It's usually got male and female voices and different things like that. And so it's got a little bit more to it. Is it a good idea to read your own fiction book? It can be, but I wouldn't say it matters as much as a nonfiction book. And also, be honest with yourself. There are just times where our voices and our acting ability does not play well to a book reading. If I write a book with a Russian character or a character with a Russian accent and I try to read that and do an accent, it would be horrible. It would be good for laughs and to make fun of, but no one wants to actually hear that for 9 hours. So I think that it can be okay for fiction, but you really have to be brutally honest with yourself if you are the best person to represent your book in that way. And if not, then it's time to go find a narrator who can do justice to your work that you spent so much time on. And honesty, we've got to be honest with ourselves. So let me see. Let me see. The middle grade books my mom is writing are about 75 pages each. She has 4 in the series. 75 pages is a bit slim to get the title on the spine. Nope, it's not. You can get a title on a spine with 48 pages for an Ingram Spark, I believe. Sometimes you can sneak it in less than that. Like they say, well, it has to be this big, but 75 pages, no problem. Will it be thin? Absolutely. I would, in that case, highly consider that when you're doing the spine, consider really contrasting colors. So you'll see a lot of kids' books that have a white spine with a bright blue or a bright red, a contrasting color that will pull it out. But 75 pages is absolutely fine to put a spine on. And it's a really great size for middle grade when you're talking about chapter books. Well, I guess it depends on how old middle grade is. If you're looking at true middle grade, if you're looking at 6th to 8th graders, 75 is a little slim. I'd be looking at doubling up and maybe doing 150. If you're actually looking at older elementary, if you're looking at, let's say, 4th and 5th graders, 75 pages is about right for what a lot of kids are comfortably reading without feeling overwhelmed. Now then you've got kids. I mean, I've got my daughter who, if she likes a book, she gets super excited and it doesn't matter how big it is, but it is so hard to find something she's excited to read. And she tends to read a lot of comic, graphic novels, that kind of thing. It's just her. It's what she likes and what she doesn't like. She'd rather be crafting than reading. My son, who is 7, is reading chapter books that are this thick. I mean, the boy he read 8 chapter books that were over 100 pages each in 1 week over spring break. When we sent in his reading log, and I'm pretty sure his teacher was like, did your mommy actually fill this in? Because he had read so much, because he likes to read. So it certainly depends on the kid when you get in that age range, but rule of thumb, I mean, I think 75 pages for true middle grade. I mean, if we're talking 6th to 8th graders, we're talking 12 to 14, 15-year-olds, thicker would make sense. But the spine, you can certainly put the title on the spine. And I mean, you can do it on children's books. Again, 48 pages, you can do it. So let me see. Where do you see your audio reviews? Your audio reviews, so fun fact, if you are on Audible for your audiobook, you can claim an Audible author profile that is separate from Author Central. So on Author Central, you can claim your audiobook as one of your books, but Audible has a separate platform where you can go to Audible, you can see your book reviews on Audible, and you can also claim an Audible author account, and you can set that up. So if you haven't done that and you have an audiobook on Audible, go do it today. Go make the most of our free platforms, because free is good. Let's take advantage of it. And it'll help you out on Audible as well. If you have your book up, let's say on Apple, and you've got your audiobook up there, on Kobo, different places, you'll see it on each of those platforms. It'll show the ebook and the audio. They usually show up separately in a search. Let's see. I just recently uploaded my book cover with Ingram Spark. It was rejected because they said the interior file content of 352 pages only provided a template of 252 pages. Now I have to have my graphic artist redo the template. There are so many reasons why that could have happened. You could have inputted it wrong, to be quite honest. It could have been that the template could have glitched. I mean, that's possible. It's an automated template. So when we're using Ingram Spark's template, it is possible that it glitched. It is possible that when you were doing it, that you didn't do it correctly. It's also important to know that when you were doing the template for your book covers, it matters if you do white paper, if you do cream paper, or one of the specialty options. Cream paper is thicker, which means that your spine width will be thicker. Typically, white paper is what's very on point for nonfiction right now. Cream paper tends to be more for fiction, just because it's got that fiction-y story feel. So there are so many things that go into what makes that template work. And if one of them was off, it could be operator error. It could be if you're like, no, this template, it says that it's the same thing. I pulled a new template and it matches. Resubmit those files, because it may be that Ingram Spark had an error. So many possibilities there, but you have to check all those little pesky details. And that's usually when something like this happens, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, it's that one little button that I missed. I did that the other day. I was getting so frustrated. Just absolutely frustrated. I was on Ingram Spark and I was uploading a book, and it just wasn't going through. It wasn't going through. And I was getting so frustrated. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave it, and I'm going to come back in a couple of minutes. And an hour later, I went back. I had clicked the wrong thing. It was completely on me, and that's why it wasn't working. Actually, what I had done is I had uploaded my cover file where the interior file went, and I had uploaded the interior where the cover file went. It was clearly labeled. It was just, I was trying to multitask and failing. So make sure that you're double checking yourself, have someone else look at it with you. If you can, pull another template and compare and make sure that your template's correct. And if not, well, make sure that you've got all your specs right. I never even thought about the merchandising side of my book. Is it ever too late to do a marketing plan? I know enough to know I don't know anything about marketing. So I think it would be smarter to turn it over to someone else. I'm just going to hop on my soapbox. Let's talk about marketing. I actually have a blog on this very topic coming out on Monday. So if you don't follow the New Shelves blog, follow it, because we're talking about everyday marketing and how every author needs to do it, even if marketing is not your thing. And easy ways to market your book, like realistic, easy ways. When I tell you, go ask one person for a review, you can do that completely. But is it ever too late to market a book? Absolutely not. Marketing your backlist titles or older titles is a smart option. These are books that are out that have a lot of left. As long as these books are still marketable, in the sense that, do you have a self-help book that was talking about dentistry in 2015? Well, if so, that book may not be marketable, because it's outdated, because dentistry has made great strides, I'm assuming, since 2015, because it's been 6 years. If this is a historical fiction novel that is still very enjoyable for people today, well, you know, what happened in 1793 didn't change in the last 5 years, so I can still market that book all day long. Children's books are another example. So you do have to keep that in mind, but overall, when we are looking at marketing our old titles, our backlist titles are some of the easiest titles to market. BookBub is often looking for backlist titles. I follow a very popular author who just got a BookBub deal for one of her books that came out. I was a kid. Like I remember sneaking this book from my mom to read it under the covers when I was like 10 or 11. So this book has been out for a long time and it's still got a BookBub. It's still got sales. It's still got love because it's an established book that people still want to read. So it's never too late to market your book, assuming it's still relevant to today. As far as a marketing plan, there are a couple of things you can do. And New Shelves does work with people in all of these ways. You can either just go at it yourself, do the research and put your plan together and hold yourself accountable, or have a author partner or someone that you work together to keep your marketing plan in place and do it yourself. Absolutely. There's so much free material out there, courses, all sorts of things that you can do. So you can do that. Another option that we do a lot here at another thing that we do all the time here at New Shelves is that we do consulting for an hour or a couple of hours where we work with authors to create a marketing plan that they can do either for short term, like a month or 6 months, or something like this is stuff you can do every week for the rest of your life to market your book. But getting together realistic things that fit your audience, that also fit your abilities and what you're willing to do and spend, and create a marketing plan that's really realistic that will help elevate your book. The thing there is you still have to go implement it. If we say, great, you have to go ask for or post to social media once a week, you still have to do it. I mean, it's a cheaper plan when you do that, and it gives you long-term tools, but you have to implement it. The third option is to completely do a big marketing plan with another company where they're doing everything for you. They're doing your blog tour. They are helping you get reviews. They are doing everything. The thing about that is that it can be an amazing thing to do to jumpstart your sales, to jumpstart your book launch. But it does cost more money because rather than your time, you're paying for someone else's time. And I always say people have either time or money when marketing a book. If they have neither, then they're really going to struggle. But typically we're choosing either our time or our money to market our book. Sometimes a little bit of both, and we strike a balance. And when you are paying someone to do a big marketing plan, it's fantastic, but your time with them will run out unless you give them more money. It's the fact of the matter. I really like to eat, like a lot, and so do my kids. So when I work with people, we have timelines on our plan. And then if we are going to keep working together, well, then you have to keep paying me. And that's very common. So keep in mind that even if you pay someone to do a really big marketing plan for you, there have to be things put in place that you can continue to utilize to market your book. And again, that will eventually take you doing it or hiring a VA or something like that. You are always either going to have to step up to the plate and do it yourself or pay someone. And there are things you can put in place and things that you can set up. We work with a lot of authors here at New Shelves where we help launch their book. We help them find their niche and what works and doesn't work. So instead of them trying everything when it's kind of time to pass the baton, we say, hey, these are the things that really worked for you. We want you to be involved on Goodreads. We want you to do Facebook ads, and we want you to pitch libraries at least twice a month. And that way it's more focused and manageable for you in the long term. But again, you still have to do it. When you stop marketing the book, it typically stops selling. Certainly there are classics. Catcher in the Rye. Well, yes, they don't really market that book so much, but it's in schools all over. I mean, they did at one point. So there are the exceptions. But for the most part, when you stop marketing a book, it stops selling. So you have to decide your priorities, a realistic time and monetary budget. What's your time budget? How much time can you realistically spend on marketing? And are you willing to learn what you need to learn to market your book? All right. So that was a big answer of saying, again, this is the beauty of being an author. And this is not, I want to highlight this, that advice is not just for self-published authors. This is all authors. I have a call later today with a published author who's got a USA Today bestselling book, who is selling books, who has a big publisher, and she's still having to market her books because that is how it works. Doesn't matter how far up the chain that you've gone, or if you're self-published or traditionally published, it's your book and you have to market that book if you want it to sell. And certainly publishers and different things can help support you, but that doesn't take away your responsibility as the author to continue marketing your own work. Let's see. Tara is saying, oh, Tara got a 5-star indie reader review for The Best Is Yet to Come. That is awesome. I love those 5-star reviews. I just got a positive Kirkus review for a client, and it's just exciting, you guys. If you don't pitch your books for reviews from things like Indie Reader or Kirkus or something like that, you'll never get them. And that's not to say you'll always get a great review or that you will get, I've also gotten Kirkus reviews that were brutal, like the kind where you're like, let's just sweep that under the rug and pretend it never happened. But if you don't pitch your book for review, you won't get them. And there are so many free opportunities that take the time and go pitch yourself for review. Indie Reader is awesome. Another one that people don't really think about that is has free options is Reader's Favorite, and they do some reviews and they've got awards and things like that. But Reader's Favorite is a fun one that, again, it's free. You can put it up there. Readers have the option and the choice to read your book if they want to. Go out there and find the opportunities, because it's great to get feedback, even if it's not an awesome review. Is that feedback valuable? Is that feedback something that will help you grow as a writer? Or is it maybe something where like, geez, I really need to edit that part of my book because this is spot on and I, as the author, didn't catch it. So get that feedback. Push for reviews of all kind, not just reader reviews, but also reader reviews and professional reviews and all of that kind of stuff. Let me see. If you have a library program, Jackie, just email me and I'll get you in touch with the right people. The Real Fast Library program is something that is not actually owned by New Shelves, but I do know the people who own it, so I can get you in touch with them. Let's see. And I had an email. I had 2 emails, actually. I guess I should answer those. Let's see. I have a question that it seems no one can answer. I'm going to sell my digital and paperback books from my website. I sent some of the digital and they told me they could copy it, change the text, or send it to other people. I found out that I have it in a DRM form. Can you explain this to me? Where do I get this done? Blah, 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 blah. All right. Not blah, blah, blah. If you're watching, that was not meant to be... That was not meant to be down on you. That was my thought process. Let's talk DRM and how much it protects you and what you can do for yourself. So DRM is digital rights management. That is kind of the back-end security of your files. And you've probably, if you've uploaded a book, let's say to KDP, if you've uploaded your ebook there, you've probably seen the option to either enable or disable digital rights management. And people always ask me, well, is it really going to protect me and what's it going to do? So digital rights management is kind of like putting a lock on a screen door. For the average person, will it keep them from altering, copying, changing your text? Yeah, I mean, for, if a neighbor kid comes up to my front door and I've got a screen door lock on it and they try to open it, it doesn't, they're probably gonna be like, oh, no, it's home, and they're gonna run away. But if a burglar comes in and wants to get in there, what do you think they're going to do? Pull out their knife and they're going to hack up the door, and they'll come in and take nothing because I don't have anything exciting except for the dog. But so it's kind of like that. It is a wall that helps protect your book, but it is not something that people can't get around if they're really determined to do it. So when we're looking at digital rights management, can you put it on? Absolutely. If you're doing your books through things like BookFunnel or you're selling it through your website, absolutely you can. And it will help stop people who don't really know what they're doing. But if someone really wants to get in there, change the book, copy the book, pirate the book, they can do it. And not only that, anyone who has that kind of push to steal the work and who knows what they're talking about, 5 minutes. They can get around that firewall in 5 minutes. So just keep that in mind, that it's one of those things that, yeah, it helps protect you, but I wouldn't worry over much about it. That's why we have a copyright. And yes, people could do that, but how many people are pirating your work? And deal with it then. It's kind of one of those things like, do I stay up at night worrying that someone could break into my house? No, because yes, they could, but it's not something that I'm going to let rule my life. And if it happens, it happens. We'll deal with it then. We'll put smart practices in place, but you can only do what you can do without being consumed by it. When you are selling directly from your website, I would consider, do not send the person your actual files. Do something like use BookFunnel. You can sell your audio and ebook. You can do directly from BookFunnel, where it is a site where they then get the download from BookFunnel. It is recorded. They have to have an email address. Like there are some protectants in place. So keep that in mind as well, as BookFunnel is a really great way. You do not want to personally like email your files, your original files, to people when they buy the book. But it is what it is. And at some point we just have to step past the fear, because truth be told, I could buy your paperback and I could sit here and I could take your paperback, or I could take your PDF and I could copy it all and I could paste it in, put another title on it and call it mine. I could do that. I'm not going to do that because that's a lot of time and effort for something that doesn't really benefit me. And also it's illegal and I don't want to go to jail or pay a lot of fines. So, I mean, that kind of is what it is. As far as enabling digital rights management on Kindle, I've heard, I've never personally had this happen, but I've heard in some cases, in some devices, that can actually get in the way of the reader experience. Sometimes in trying to protect you, it keeps the reader on certain devices, especially things like apps. People who don't have a Kindle Fire but have the Kindle app on their phone, it can keep them from fully enjoying your book. So I have a lot of people who simply just don't enable it because it's not worth upsetting the end user, the reader who pays for the book, to have a problem. Personal decision, but that's kind of how I feel about it. Don't worry over much. Protect yourself, smart practices, but don't let it keep you up at night. Is it better to be on the exclusive program with Amazon, which is Kindle Select, to get you into Kindle Unlimited, or be able to have Baker and Taylor have your book through, let's say, Draft to Digital? When we're talking about an exclusive through Amazon or going wide for your distribution, it depends on your book and it depends on your goals. Keep in mind that when you do exclusive with Kindle, so for Kindle Select, it's a 90-day program. After the end of 90 days, you can opt out. So there are several authors I've worked with who we say, all right, we're going to do it for 90 days. We're going to do Kindle Select. We're going to go exclusive, and then we're going to shut that down after 90 days and go wide. It is much easier to go exclusive with Amazon and then go wide than go wide and get rid of all those different things and try to take it off sites and then go exclusive with Amazon. That takes much longer, is harder. Which is better? It depends on your book. It depends on your audience. I will say that I have seen where people make a lot more money with their books if they have a series. If it's a series, and if it is something that people tend to read quickly, if it is some type of fiction like let's see, the historical fiction novels I'm working with right now are on Kindle Unlimited and doing really well. Mystery, romance, those kind of things that people read a lot. Kindle Unlimited, which is the exclusive with Kindle Select, can be a great thing because you've got a steady stream of readers and you can make a lot of money on there. Also keep in mind if you are a new author, so Randy with his poetry books, Kindle Unlimited can make sense because when you are looking at a new author, people are more likely to take a chance on a Kindle Unlimited book if they have a Kindle Unlimited subscription than if they are paying $6.99. If I've never heard of this author and their book is $6.99, kind of risky. I mean, that's like a really fancy coffee somewhere. What if I don't like it? Could I return it? Yes, but we all know that returns are a pain, so we'd rather avoid them. Whereas if I'm scrolling through Netflix tonight and I see a new show that I've never heard of and I'm not sure if I'm really going to enjoy it or not, well, why not? It's on my Netflix, so I can go ahead and just watch it. And if I don't like it 5 minutes in, I can skip around to the back, or I can just be done and I didn't pay anything extra. That's kind of the value of Kindle Unlimited and Kindle Select, is that it gives you a reader base that is more likely to take a chance on your book. And if you've got voracious readers who are reading a lot and you have a series, you can get that read through and make a lot of money on the read through. I actually have clients that I work with on Amazon advertising and that I work with in other ways that they make their money. They are profitable as authors because of Kindle Select and Kindle Unlimited with the series, because they are constantly getting readers through that, and they're making really good money on that. If you have a nonfiction book, if you have a how-to book or a nonfiction book that will, number one, probably take people longer to read. Number two, they might refer back to. So let's talk a cookbook. If you have a cookbook that people are probably going to refer back to for 3 years, go wide. Why? Because number one, cookbooks are huge in libraries. Cookbooks are one of the top 3 genres that libraries look for and that they check out. So you want to go wide with that, because also people are more willing to pay $6.99, $9.99 for a book that they will then own and keep if they're going to reference back to it. If it's a nonfiction book that is more specialized, that has something that people will get value from for a long time, or it's a slower read, they're more likely to do that. If you have a really thick literary fiction that's just a standalone novel, people are probably willing to pay a little bit more because it's a slower read. And when you go wide, of course, you can get into Baker and Taylor and Overdrive for ebooks for libraries. So if you're going to pitch to libraries, absolutely, it's better to do it that way. But if you're never pitching to libraries, if you're not taking it upon yourself to go pitch your book out, well, then being wide could help. But as we know, if your book's not seen, it's not going to be bought. So if you're not pitching to libraries, why is it so important to have your book in Overdrive? So once again, it comes down to what you're willing to do, what your goals are, and what your book specifically, what your audience is for that. And I know, Bobby, you have a book. I know you have the Dauphin and Whales book, and I would say that one is probably something that I would personally go wide and get into Overdrive and Baker and Taylor, because it's a nonfiction book that's kind of research and something that libraries, I think, would really enjoy. So that type of book, I would go wide with it. It really depends book by book. Don't you love these answers where I'm always like, well, you could do this or that, but it's really your choice. Let's see. I once found a website that I thought was called Author Beware by someone named Victoria, but now I can't find it. Instead, a site called Writer Beware comes up, but it's very different. Every day I get calls from companies I haven't heard of who say they want to republish or market my book. Here's my rule of thumb, Jean, and sorry, my heater is blowing my hair into my face. So my rule of thumb is, if you did not reach out to a company or sign up for their newsletter, if you did not actually initiate, something with this company and ask for their advice or for them to contact you, and you have people calling you, I treat those a little bit like the people who call me about my student loans. I don't have any. Or the people who call me about that car warranty. It's the extended car warranty. Those are salespeople who I don't necessarily put a lot of stock in. If I go to someone for a service, if I go to my mechanic and ask for something on my car, I'm going to trust them more than if someone calls me and just says, oh, hey, we want to market your book. It's the same idea. Tread carefully when people reach out to you and you didn't initiate the contact. Again, it's different if you've signed up for their mailing list, if you have initiated contact and they're saying we could market, republish, do different things with your book. Obviously, then you have established that you've looked in that company or you've asked for their help. And that's kind of how I go. And there are different places that you can look for kind of vetting places. And for sure, if you've got questions, keep putting them in the Q&A or you can put your answers up in the chat box. But when you are looking for something and you kind of want to know if it's vetted or not, Google them. Go to their Facebook page, look at reviews, see what they're doing. You can also look them up on Ally, the Alliance of Independent Publishers. They have a watchdog site and list that if you're a part of their group, you can look at the watchdog list. Some of that stuff is just on the open website as well, so you can look them up there. Author Beware and Writer Beware are two sites as well. They may have blended. I know who you're talking about. And so you can look at places there. You can just look for reviews. You can just try to look them up. I will say word of mouth is what I always trust most. So that's how we get most of our clients here at New Shelves, is either people we've worked with, people who are here on Free Advice Friday, or very often it is word of mouth. It's people we've worked with, and so then they're telling other people about us when their author friends are saying, I need help. And so try to get a referral, something like that. But I'm always very wary of people who call me with a sales pitch before I've even reached out to them. And that's not, maybe it's not always true. Maybe it really is Penguin calling you and they saw your book on Netflix and or they saw your book on Kindle Unlimited and Netflix wants to make a movie or something. Sure, but let's be realistic and that kind of thing. An Ally, yes, it's the Alliance of Independent Publishers. Oops, Alliance, there we go. I will put it, it's just allianceindependentauthors.org/watchdog. I know that is quite the mouthful, so I will drop that link right there in the chat. And that watchdog site is fantastic. Now, it's not, I was talking to Orna Ross, who is the founder of Ally, last week, and she freely admitted that it's not an exclusive list. They vet where and who they can. When they get complaints, they look into people and kind of do their due diligence, but it's not an exclusive list. There's a lot of information on there, but also there are a lot of companies who, when they get a really bad name, they close down that name and they open up a different branch under a different name. So it's not an exclusive list, but it's a really nice place to start. Also, if you have questions about a specific company, go to your author groups on places like Facebook. Ask in Free Advice Fridays Facebook group. Go to your other writing groups and say, hey, has anyone ever had experiences with these people? Word of mouth, because people, I said last week that customers very often are not likely to publicly cry from the rooftops that a company is great. They usually put out complaints. However, on the flip side, if someone asks for recommendations of a company, people do usually stand up and say whether or not they had good experiences. And certainly it's colored by their personal experience and what happened with them, but that at least gives you real people giving real experiences, what they liked and didn't like, and why they didn't like it. I mean, I could have gone to a company and just absolutely hated the experience because of something I didn't like, not necessarily something that would bother you. So word of mouth, asking in groups, watchdog sites, they're all smart. I mean, when you're investing money in something, doing your due diligence just makes sense, right? All right, I've got one more email that I wanted to go through, but if you've got any questions, we're at the end of the hour. So if you've got questions, drop them in the Q&A box. The last email question I have was, I'm setting up a website, and as I'm setting up this website, I'm being told that I have to have a contact email. I do not want my personal email on this website. What can I do? What is the norm? It is very common when setting up an author contact email that you do. I actually highly recommend keep it separate from your normal email. If you have had an AOL email for, gosh, 30 years, 25 years, if you've had this AOL email that's like littleprincess@aol.com, let's not put that up on your author website. Not only because you don't want your personal emails getting mixed up with all your author stuff, but it doesn't brand well. So in that case, I would recommend that you either do something that is related to your website. So if your website is newshelves.com, then I would highly recommend that you do Keri@newshelves.com or hello@newshelves.com, something that is easy, that is very tied, that goes into a separate inbox. Certainly you can sync your inboxes so you can see them all in one spot. I actually have like 5 emails that go into one Outlook. So you can do that, so it's easy to kind of keep track of, but also it doesn't inundate your personal email. And if that's not available, if you don't have that website, go to Gmail, go to somewhere free like that, like Gmail, and do newshelvesbooks@gmail.com. That's an easy way, again, to put up a public or author email that is separate, that's free, that gives you options rather than putting up your old AOL email. And let's see. Yeah, Trina's asking, do you see the writers' conferences opening up for next year? The virtual aren't the same. That is so true. The virtual conferences are not the same either for the attendees or for the people doing them. I was actually just saying on Facebook, I was supposed to attend a prep meeting for a upcoming conference last night at 8 p.m. that I missed because it was 8 p.m. and I forgot. It's different for everybody, and I know that it's still a great way to get content. In some ways it opens it up because I maybe couldn't have traveled to Las Vegas next week, but I can do things virtually, so it does open some things up, but it's still not quite the same as those in-person conferences. And so those in-person conferences, we're seeing some open up actually in certain states. In certain conferences, they are tending to be smaller. I'm sure they'll still have a lot of safeties in place because of COVID and all of that. Jerry, if I can't give hugs, it's not worth going. So true. The elbow bump just doesn't really do it. We are seeing some open up, but I've also seen quite a few that were planned for 2021 to be in person that are now moving virtually. I'm hoping in 2022, there's a lot more opened up in-person conferences because I know we all miss those, and there's something about that being there in that community that's really amazing. So I'm hoping 2022, 2021, and let's also keep in mind, 2021, these conferences were planned 12 months ago. So they've already kind of planned virtual, but as far as in person, they're planning 2022, and many of them I know are planning physical in-person conferences. All right, and I will. So yes, on Monday, I do have a blog coming out on New Shelves that is all, I call them 10-minute marketing moments. And it is where you can take 10 minutes a day and focus on one thing to help market your book. And if you take 10 minutes a day, I mean, really 10 minutes every day to focus on one aspect of your book or book marketing, then at the end of the year, you have spent over 60 hours marketing your book. It really adds up. And if you have a focus for those 10 minutes, because 10 minutes does not mean, oh, I'm just going to check my social media. And then what do? We're scrolling on Facebook, looking at puppy pictures. Be honest. It has to be focused, but a focused 10 minutes can really do a lot for you. And so it's ideas of things to focus on and things to do. So that will be coming up on the New Shelves blog on Monday. And I dropped the link right in our chat box, but I will also try to post it in the Free Advice Friday Facebook group. So if you're not with us on there, please go join, and I drop the blogs in there when I think about it. We also have an awesome blog that Tara Alamany put up for us yesterday that is a Dear Author exercise that is about focusing your marketing and kind of finding your goals as an author and what you can do to push those forward. That it's an exercise that you actually do, and it was very well done and led through. I highly recommend that if you are kind of feeling like your book is out, or you're putting your book out and you're kind of floundering, go check that out and do the exercise, because I think we all know Tara's a genius, right? And let me see, I've got one more question here. Who would you recommend for selling PDFs of how-tos? When you say who, Christine, do you mean like a publisher, or are you talking about doing it online? Again, BookFunnel. BookFunnel can help you sell a PDF online with, it's all done. You upload your PDF, they take the sale, they give the link to the buyer. So that can be super easy. So absolutely keep that in mind. PDF, you could put it up as an ebook, put it up on an ebook. Obviously it's not a PDF, but you could put it up on an ebook on Amazon. You can even go wide with it and just do an ebook and not a paperback. That sometimes works as well. And a PDF you could also do from your website. You could have something where you take a sale on your website and you've got immediate PDF download. We have that in the New Shelf store for things like our social media guide and that kind of thing. And Tara is saying a friend uses Gumroad, Gumroad for PDFs. So that's an option as well. All right, you guys, I think we got all of the questions answered. So we will go. Would you guys like to see Griff? I want to see Griff. Hang on. I'll be right back. Let me grab the puppy. Come here, buddy. Yes, come here. Oh, he's getting so big. All right. I know why you came. Let's be awesome. So this is Griffin. He's getting bigger and bigger. He was sleeping. I woke him up. So absolutely. When is happy hour? Yeah, I know we love Griff. Those of you who are on our call right now, we've talked about doing a happy hour for our group and kind of getting on Zoom where everyone can chat, not just me. Guys, I'm free tonight. Is anyone else free tonight to do a happy hour where we could hop in and do a happy hour? If so, let me know. I can get a Zoom link and get it up in our group, and we could do a happy hour tonight. Let's see. We could do 5 p.m., I think. Yay, look, I love the excitement. Let me know. Let's take this over to the Free Advice Friday group. I will post, I think 5 p.m. probably works for a lot of people. It'd be 5 p.m. Eastern, and we can get on Zoom and we can all chat, and I can see everyone go do your hair because I want to see all of your faces. I will take that over to the Zoom. Every hour is happy hour in Randy's world. Love it. All right, let's take it over there. I will post and we will get it done because 5 p.m. tonight, I think would be fun. So we'll do that there, and hopefully I will see lots of you in your beautiful faces tonight. Until then, guys, have a good Friday. Enjoy your day, and we'll see you maybe tonight, maybe next week. Love it. Bye, guys.